Hi, okay, so today I'm going to teach you how to do trig equations. These trip up a lot of pre-calculus students, but the things to make sure that you keep in mind are that you can use your trig identities, which will help you eliminate problems in the equation, like little parts of the equation will help you eliminate, and that you should keep your work organized so that you don't have a bunch of random equations all over the place that you have no idea what they mean. So remembering our process from the PowerPoint, we're going to first start by making our equation equal to 0. So I'm going to write the equation that we're going to work with today, since you didn't see an example of how to use secant or cosecant, and then I'm going to solve it for you. So first we have our problem, which is solve the equation 2 secant squared x minus tangent to the 4th x equals -1 for all real values of x. So how do we get that to equal 0? Well, first we're going to have to look at this part. Now secant squared is looking a little suspicious. No one wants to use secant squared in an equation because no one knows what it means. But we happen to have an identity for secant squared right over here. If you remember back to trig identities, secant squared x equals 1 plus tangent squared x. So we're just going to substitute that in really quick to help us make this equal to 0. So 2, 1 plus tangent squared x. Alright, and then we're going to put in the second part, minus tangent to the 4th x equals -1. Okay, so now we can simplify this further to 2 plus, we are distributing the 2 here, so 2 tangent x, tangent squared x, minus tangent to the 4th x equals -1. Okay, so then we can simplify this even further by getting our numbers to one side. And obviously, since we want to make this equation equal 0, we're going to add 1 to both sides, and it magically equals 0. So, you're going to get tangent to the 4th x minus 2 tangent squared x minus 3 equals 0. Because we multiplied by -1 to get this to equal 1. So all of the signs got switched. So for instance, the 2 tangent squared x is now -2, and this negative tangent to the 4th x is now positive. So with that being said, this is the simplest part of your equation. Now what we're going to do is we're going to follow the process from the PowerPoint, and we're going to factor. So we're going to want to factor out the tangents in the equation. I'm going to rewrite it for you. So that tangent to the 4th x minus 2 tangent squared x minus 3 equals 0. And next, this looks a lot like your polynomial equations where you would have like x squared minus something x minus a number, but it's just with tangent. So it's really no different. What you're going to do now is factor out the tangents. So we're going to have tangent squared x minus 3 times tangent squared x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, now following the process, we're going to set each of these parts equal to 0. So first we're going to set the tangent squared x minus 3 equal to 0, and the tangent squared x plus 1 equal to 0. This is a lot like when you work with polynomial equations. Remember, you would have like x minus 3 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0, only we're still working with tangent. So then, solving this equation, we're going to get tangent squared x equals 3. And so when we square root both sides, because that is allowed, you are going to get tangent x equals plus or minus 3, the square root of 3. And then you are going
Attention staff,
to solve
please
this
remember to put your
equation.
recycle bins outside your classrooms at this time.
Tangent squared
Again,
x.
staff members, please put your recycle bins outside of your classrooms at this time. Thank you.
Tangent squared x equals -1. And this part is not allowed because if you square root a negative number, it doesn't exist. So luckily for you, you can cross that right off. It doesn't exist. So now we're going to work with our plus or minus 3. The square root of 3 equals tangent x. And in order to solve that, you're going to have to use your, what's that called when you have like the quadrants in the circle gradients or something?
Wait, I don't know. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying. Okay. So, if you have a positive square root of 3 equals tangent x, you know that that's going to be in your first quadrant. And you are going to get pi over 3. Remember, because it would be the square root of 3 over 1. And that your answer would be pi over 3. But if you have minus square root of 3, you're going to refer back to your quadrants, and you would have to add pi plus k. So the k value is going to be however far it gets you to get the negative tangent, since tangent is negative in 2 places. Tangent could be negative here, so you could have negative square root of 3 over 1 right here, and then this would be your tangent value, negative pi over 3. But for now, you can stick with pi plus k, pi times k. What am I saying?
I have no idea. Where did pi plus k come from?
I don't know. It's like in the book.
Pausing. Move. Wait.
So, okay, so now that you know that tangent equals plus or minus the square root of 3, we're going to have to figure out what the theta value is for x. So tangent can be positive in the first quadrant only. And we know that because the first or fourth quadrant only. Because
It's positive in the first. Everything is positive in the
right.
first.
But would it be positive in third? Yeah, it would be positive in third, so it can only be fourth.
It wouldn't be positive. Wait, what?
Because negative.
Yeah.
So it would be positive in third. So I'm going to erase this. Okay, so we know that tangent is positive in the first quadrant because that would mean square root of 3 over 1, and there are no negative signs there. So you know that in order to have a tangent equal the positive square root of 3, square root of 3 would have to be your sign value, and therefore your theta is pi over 3. So your answer is going to be pi over 3. As for the negative part of this equation, we can look at the fourth quadrant. Because tangent is negative in the fourth quadrant, you would have negative pi over 3 as your sine value and 1 as your cosine value, because that's how you're going to get your tangent value of negative square root over 3. So if it's in your fourth quadrant, your answer is going to be negative pi over 3 or 5 pi over 6. Because remember, these are equivalent. Because there's 1 pi over here and 2 pi over here, and 5 pi over 6 is just shy of 2 pi. So negative pi over 3 is going to equal 5 pi over 6 for your negative square root of 3, or for your positive square root of 3, we're going to have pi over 3 only. That is how you solve trig equations.